Here we are. Today we have the Sony Eplod 600 watt 2-in-1 channel power amplifier. You used to hook it up to your car stereos and it would make it go boom boom. And nowadays most of the people that owned one of these when they were new are deaf, including myself, because yeah, they really did make your stereo go pretty loud. But I tell you what, all we have is 6 screws in the bottom of this, and I'm pretty sure we're gonna have a low grade board in there. We're gonna have some copper, and I'm willing to bet we're gonna have some MOSFETs in there, but I'm not really sure what else is gonna be in there. So right off the bat, this is going to be some steel. Well, how do I know it's steel? Well, you take your magnet and you stick it to it. So that's going to go in your shred steel pile. It's not much, but hey, it all adds up. All right, so we got the board all loosened up, and we're going to take this guy out. Again, it's going to have that heat paste on there, and you're going to see it's going to get all over your hands and everywhere all over your shop. So don't just go sit in this place anywhere. Find some place pretty clean to put it, unless you don't care about getting this stuff everywhere. It's like a zinc paste, and it truly does go everywhere. But again, so you're going to have a screw that's going to hold in that little plastic thing there. You want to take that out for it to be clean cast. It'll pop this Sony Eplod guide off as well, but for right now we're just going to leave that on there because we're going to melt this later on in the season. Alright, so here's the board, and we're going to start cranking off all these screws off these MOSFETs because they're going to be everywhere, and they're usually attached pretty securely. So we got all the screws taken out of those MOSFETs, but that aluminum is still attached to the board. And so we're going to take this faceplate off here. This is again going to be some more steel for your scrap steel pile, but we're going to have a couple screws we need to take off as well. Alright, so now that we got the 100 screws taken out, these should come out just quite nicely, but again, there's going to be that goop. So if you just take a wipe, I usually keep baby wipes or something laying around the shop, and you wipe that off really quick and you get that stuff off of there, because yeah, it may not affect you today, but hey, when you're digging through your extruded aluminum bucket later on, you're not going to want to run into that. There, so we have 3 more pieces of clean aluminum that we won't be finding all that white stuff for videos to come for sure. Again, this is going to melt down nicely for us later on. So now that we can handle the board a little better and not get a whole bunch of crud all over our hands, what do we have? Well, let's get down in on that board. So that's going to be a copper Polaroid. This copper is going to be nice. We'll crack this guy off. We'll open up that ferrite ring. You whack a do with a hammer and it'll crack, and all that copper will come off of there, and that's going to be a nice chunk of copper. And again, you're going to see this copper rail. I don't know if there's a bridge rectifier or something like that. I'm not exactly sure what that is, but that's going to be a nice little score of copper. And then if you move along the board, you're going to find a little transformer right here. Again, we just go and crack the ferrite off of there. You can take the tape off of that guy. We'll do it for the video, and we'll show you guys how to do that. So these Polaroids, if we get you down in here, you're going to see that they're going to be attached to the board right around the bottom, and you get your flush cutters in there. Maybe I can do it on camera for you guys. And you get your flush cutters in there, and you just snap them off. And so you work your way around them, and they're pretty self-explanatory. Like I said, you just clip them off of the board. And sometimes they're thicker, sometimes you need a better set of flush cutters, sometimes you get away with the little nippers. You do you and you figure it out, but eventually they will come off of here. And who am I to judge? I don't know. We don't judge here. So just keep going around and you can work this piece out of here fairly easy and fairly quick. So we got this guy unspooled here. Again, like I said, it's a little harder when you're trying not to fling it everywhere so that you guys can actually see it. But hey, it's there. And what are you going to do with all this stuff when you're done with it? Well, I tell you what, it's ferrous. It is magnetic. So again, I put it in with my screws and everything else because this is a good chunk of weight, and it will add up in your scrap steel. We got it off. There we go. Alright, so it has one of those jumper wires on there. But so this guy, basically, you're going to go and peel off this metal frame. We'll take these clips, and you should be able to cut underneath of here with your pliers without getting your fingers. And you should just be able to nip this case right off of there, just like this. And it actually should just peel open. Now you're going to go all the way around this guy, and it's going to show you a bunch of metal sheets inside of there. And there's a little trick to that. A lot of people will do it, but you just take and you whack a do with a hammer on the corner, and you stand it up like this, and you smack it, and these plates will come out of there, and they'll just kind of shimmy jimmy out of place. All right, so we just popped over to the vise, and like I said, I hit it on a diagonal, and this guy popped right off. And then I sat there and I put a little nail, and you just punch it right through, and this guy will come out. And I know everybody's gonna say, "Hey, Scrooge, this is absolutely not worth it." But when it actually has wire like this inside of there, look at that. You can't tell me you've made it this far through the video and tell me it isn't worth it. Leave a comment and let me know if it's actually worth taking these guys apart, because I know a lot of the times they have a lot thinner wire in there and it really is not actually worth taking apart. But you don't know unless you look at your material. Then you're going to be left with some free copper and a tiny bit of plastic that was going to end up in the landfill anyways. So I'm running around and I'm clipping all the legs off of all these MOSFETs. A lot of people don't realize that there's going to be a lot of copper to be had inside of there. And there also has the potential to be gold bond wires inside of every, most of the time, at least not nowadays, but back in the day, you used to be able to find some really good material in these older vintage electronics for sure. So I keep them all and we run them just like our IC chips. You're going to see these 3-leg transistors, and these guys are definitely going to have a decent little amount of gold inside of them, so we're going to keep these guys separate. But hey, if you do want to just do a batch process of them, then just throw them in with your IC chips or anything else. But I tell you what, I have a ton of them, and so I'm going to throw them off to the side, and we're actually going to do a little bit of an experiment with them and see exactly how much is in there. Where we're going to have a couple of these resistors. A majority of them actually are not going to have any precious materials in them, but not only do I just get them off the board and we're going to collect them up, but hey, then they're not sitting there on the board. They may have something, otherwise they're just going to go on my scrap steel, but some of them will have gold in the end caps. Not a lot of them, but you do run across them every once in a while. So I went and clipped off the Mylar capacitors. They had a C on the board. I'm not exactly sure what's going to be in there. I've opened them up and they've just had a long string of Mylar with a little piece of metal in the center. If any of you guys know what's actually inside of them, let me know. Otherwise, they just go in with my other film resistors that I have and along with my capacitors that I have in the same type. Now this blue guy interests me. You're going to see like ceramic disc capacitors in a round shape in the same color. This guy has a C on the board next to it, but I'm wanting to say that it's going to be like an MLCC that's wrapped. It's going to be an old style one that you would see mounted with a through pin design instead of like the surface mount MLCCs. I do believe that's what that guy's going to be. So we went and cracked the guy open. If you want to know what's in something, just open it up. But look at that. That's definitely going to be an MLCC, and that's going to be packed with silver, and it may have a potential for platinum and palladium. But I tell you what, I have not entered into that in my own process because platinum and palladium can be quite scary. But hey, that's stacked with silver. That's definitely a score of silver. So we got the board all cleaned off. What do we have? Well, I tell you what, right off the bat, we're going to have that bunch of copper. That's right. That's almost a 1/4 pound of nice copper, and that's going to get melted later on the channel. That's right, and we're going to have those sheets of aluminum. These guys are going to be super nice. You can use them for a lot of different stuff, but hey, again, they're going to be getting melted down into bars later on. And what else? We're going to have a bunch of ferrous material, the steel that came out from around the transformers and that came out from around the toroid capacitor right there. That's right. So this guy will go inside of a microwave or something else for sure. And I know everybody's seeing all these MOSFETs. Yeah, there's actually a considerable amount of these MOSFETs. There's going to be a bunch of copper in there, and I bet my hat that there's going to be some gold material in there as well to be had for sure. And I know everybody's seeing the board. We had talked about the brass earlier on there. And so now here we're going to have our gold potential material. And so basically we have those transistors, the 3-leg transistors right there here, excuse that. And so we're gonna have those transistors and they're gonna have a form of gold inside there. These resistors, I have no idea. The diode, I'm not really sure about, but we'll collect them up and we'll do some experiments. I don't know exactly what these film capacitors are necessarily gonna have in there. And then we're gonna have our jumper wires. Again, I'm not really sure about what's gonna be inside those guys as well, but we have a ton of them. And what did we come across? We also came across this guy here. I thought it was going to be a form of a film resistor or film capacitor, but I turned out to be wrong. This guy sure is an MLCC, and I guess this was the way they had been packaged. Instead of being a surface mount, it was a pin through design, and that's gonna have a really good score of silver inside of there. So I tell you guys what, Was it worth taking apart a completely random electronic we found in the garbage for free? Well, absolutely. Don't you guys forget about that 5-pound chunk of cast aluminum. I don't know if this guy will get melted or put on the wall, but I tell you guys what, if you guys are learning anything new or having fun hanging out, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Hit that notification bell too if you guys want to be notified of the videos we put out weekly. And for all my subscribers, thanks a lot for hanging out with me again today. To my wife, I love you. To my kids, go wash your face.